All right, Miss Knowles, could you please, now that you've been sworn in, just state your name and age?
My name is Chris Knowles. I'm 26 years old.
All right, and when and where did you graduate from college?
I graduated last year in 2015 from St. Paul State University.
Okay, and what kind of student were you?
I was a good student. I graduated with honors.
Okay. Now, I would like to show you this document labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, and could you tell me what this document is?
I think this is, from what I can see, the Merit Honor Society Award that I received.
Okay, and could you read the highlighted portion of that document for the court?
Sure. Awarded to college seniors who have demonstrated exemplary scholarship and integrity in their school community.
Okay, and so that award was awarded to you.
Yes.
And how do you earn that award from State University?
It's based on your grades. It's also based on your involvement in the school community. So those things combined.
Okay. And I noticed the word integrity in the document. Does that come into play at all in determining the award?
It does. There's a component about our school has an honor system, so there's a component about that and how we manage. We trying to explain this in the best way. We self police, and so
Okay.
as part of, I was on that, so that's a good factor I think in the award, or it was a factor that played in.
Okay. And since you graduated, what have you been doing professionally?
I'm an assistant compliance officer at data center.
Okay, and based on your professional experience as a compliance officer, why would you say it's important for a compliance officer to have a high level of integrity?
I think it's kind of the bread and butter of this job, and so if there's any sort of question about that, it undermines the work that we're doing. It undermines the um, division within the company. So it's really important that we're kind of beyond reproach in that area.
Okay, good. And now, what about your personal life? What do you like to do outside the office?
I am pretty active. I like to canoe. I like to attend sporting events. Um, kind of I think normal things. I bike and sometimes go camping and hiking, which is helpful because it's easier to get in and out of certain places that I like to canoe in.
Okay, very good, very good. Now, thinking back to May 30th, 2015, where did you live on May 30th, 2015?
I lived in the St. Paul area in an apartment near the university.
Okay. And who owned that apartment?
The owner is Fran Jacobs, I believe. Yes, Fran Jacobs.
Okay. And what happened at your apartment on May 30th,
There,
2015?
there was a fire, and I basically lost everything in the fire that night.
You lost your apartment got burned. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, let me have you take a look at Plaintiff Exhibit 1, which was previously introduced during the fire inspector's testimony. Can you tell me what that document is?
This is the fire inspector's report.
Okay, and could you read the first highlighted section of that document?
Knowles denied lighting any candles at any time on the day of the fire.
Okay. And is that still your testimony today? What you told the fire inspector, that you didn't light any candles on May 30th, 2015?
Yes.
Okay. Now, could you also read the second highlighted section of the St. Paul Fire Inspector's Report Exhibit 1?
The inspector also discovered faulty wiring In the hallway outside Knowles' apartment, the wiring was 60 years old.
Okay. And so based on your direct knowledge that you didn't light any candles that day, and from the fire inspector's report of faulty wiring, what did you believe was the cause of the fire?
I believed it was the wiring. That was the issue.
Okay. And now, while you believe that, later on you came to realize that your landlord, Mr. Jacobs, did not share your belief that wiring caused the fire. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you come to realize that?
There's kind of a sequence of events, but the first one, I moved in with my parents immediately after, just because I was kind of figuring out I had to find a new apartment, which took time, and this apartment I'd been in was kind of a cheaper rent than most of the areas around because I'd lived in it while I was in school. So anyway, it took me a little while to find an apartment. And so about 2 weeks after the event, the fire, I got a phone call at my parents' house, and Mr. Jacobs was just, irrational, just yelling and telling me I owed him $10,000, and he was threatening, and it was my fault. I was a firebug. All these kind of it was an irrational phone call. So that's how I figured out that he blamed me.
Okay. And you know when he said he owed you $10,000, where that figure came from?
He said something, I think, to the lines that it was the deductible for his fire insurance policy, and because he blamed me, saying I had lit candles, or that was his belief, that it was my fault and I owed him the money he was out for the deductible.
Okay, gotcha. And what happened to you personally after that phone call you received?
It was just, it caught me really off guard. It made me really anxious. I became a little bit worried. Just kind of the threatening tone. He said he was going to keep coming after me. I wouldn't forget. He was going to, basically bother me until I paid this $10,000. And so I was really tense, and it made me pretty irritable to people around me because I was stressed out about it. I was just worried that I didn't know, anytime the phone call rang, I was worried it was him.
Okay, and did he follow through on that pledge to keep after you, contact you again?
He did. He contacted me about 3 more times in the future.
Okay. When was the next time you were contacted by Mr. Jacobs? What did he say?
The next time was around the 1st of July, and okay. He basically, he wasn't as demanding about the $10,000. That always came up, but he was really derogatory. He called me a deadbeat. Told me he was going to go after me and garnish my wages from my job. He threatened to call my boss, which, of course, my place of employment had no idea about the fire.
Okay.
Or maybe they did, but it was just that me in passing saying, I was living with my parents for a bit, but no real understanding. And
you said the first phone call, he called your parents' house. Did you know how he came to find out you were living at your parents' house?
I think I must have told him that. At the point when we first got through the fire, we were still trying to figure out if anything could be salvaged. And it was, I think I still owed a month. It was the middle of a month of payment. And so I'm sure I gave it as a forwarding address. And I probably left a contact number.
Okay. Now, the second phone call, was that also placed to your parents' house, or was it somewhere else?
No, he called me at work that time, at the data center.
At work. Okay. All right. Well, let me have you take a look at Exhibit 3. Now, can you identify this document?
Yeah, this is the email that he sent to my boss at data center, or my bosses.
Okay. And could you read the highlighted portion of that email?
You have a firebug working for you. You will get what you deserve, trusting your business and your safety to Chris Knowles, a known arsonist.
Okay, so he called your work, and then subsequent to that call, sent this email to your bosses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, have you ever been charged with or convicted of arson?
No.
And have you ever been accused of arson besides in this email from Mr. Jacobs?
No.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned you had some symptoms, some physical reaction to Mr. Jacobs' first call, including some anxiety. Did you experience any physical or mental reactions to Mr. Jacobs' second call and the subsequent email?
Yeah, I started having some physical symptoms. I got headaches a lot. I got sick, very nauseous. If I didn't, there were many points I just got sick.
Okay.
Loss of sleep, which led to kind of a loss of energy. I stopped doing some of the things I like to do. It was just it just felt like I couldn't get away from it.
Okay. And what about your work performance?
Well, because of my not being able to sleep and kind of being really anxious, I was late to work 6 times, and I missed 2 sales meetings, which, of course wasn't good. So yeah, I had some fallout in terms of the workplace and just being able to deal and cope and get there because I was pretty sleep deprived.
Okay. And did your bosses who received this email make any comments about the situation to you? Or?
Yeah, they came up and basically told me that, the being late and missing sales appointments wasn't going to be okay, and I had to get it together. Not necessarily in those words. I mean, they point blank said I couldn't continue to be late and miss sales appointments.
Okay. And now after Mr. Jacobs contacted your bosses and you became ill and started and it started affecting your work, did you receive a third contact from Mr. Jacobs?
I did. On the 15th of July, I was contacted again.
Okay. And what did Mr. Jacobs say in that call, third call?
He threatened again about the money, about the dollar amount, the $10,000, and he told me he was going to get a hold of my new landlord and tell them that I was a torch. Those are his words. And I ended up hanging up on him. I was just so upset and couldn't handle it.
Okay, and so by that time of the third call, you had moved into a new apartment?
Yes, yeah. I moved into a new apartment, and I don't know how he got that number.
Okay.
And the threat was that he was going to contact the new landlord.
Okay. And do you know how Mr. Jacobs knew you had even moved into a new apartment?
I don't know that answer. No, I'm not sure how he was finding me.
Okay. And now, prior to Mr. Jacobs beginning these series of contacts with you, had you ever been diagnosed with any mental illness, like pyromania, anxiety, depression, anything like that?
No.
Okay. And did you have any physical symptoms as a result of this third call?
Again, I just kind of became really reclusive. I didn't want to go out and do anything. I didn't want to do any of the activities I like to do. I stopped doing any of the recreational activities that I earlier mentioned, canoeing, camping, hiking. I didn't want to be, it was just hard to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that it is difficult to testify and talk about some of these things. We're going to let you have a quick break, and then we will resume your testimony in about 15 minutes. Does that sound all right, Ms. Knowles?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.